just some interesting self-observation, self-analyses, and I end up analyzing these videos later on as a exercise in free association analysis. I shaved because I'm doing the violin now instead of the Judaism or the Hebrew, I should say. I got to hold the violin. Anyway, um, consumerism is escapism. It's very strange. I seem to have this involuntary desire to purchase items from Amazon and Walmart online, almost like it's a stress release valve, which is really odd because the stress would be purely psychological. And so I question, well, what is the source of my stress? Right? Last night, the weed junkies, 110 and 111, I saw their dog off the leash. They were behaving for a little while, for like a month or so, because the guy who owns the property this trailer park is on has rules. Your dog's not supposed to be off the leash, blah blah blah. But also because I've gone to the local gun store to purchase a shotgun just to scare the dog. I'm fucking sick of seeing this giant pit bull running around unattended and off leash. I think they're trying to mimic me with the verbal leash, but they clearly spaced the dog out and had no idea where it went. I think that's what the junkie does, the weed junkie. He just lets the dog out and then, oh yeah, man, the dog. And then he opens the door, come on, get rat pieces of shit. So the only thing that works to modify their behavior to be, civilized, and these are white people, by the way, is the threat of violence or the enforcement of law, which requires a threat of violence. For a while, they're actually putting it on the leash and walking it every day. Like decent human beings. People don't choose to be decent human beings voluntarily. They have to be coerced, apparently. And so that could be a source of stress. Plus, I saw like the Tweaker Junkie brothers show up. It was like they knew that darkness was their friend. They knew how to use the cover of darkness for crime. It's just like the thing that I got last night. Um, yeah. But that got me thinking about the consequences of cowardice. I recall right now coming up, this could be what's stressing me out. The secondhand marijuana from them is probably causing schizophrenia. If I'm even right about that, I'm pretty sure I am. I don't think it's pollen that just smells really similar to marijuana. I'm pretty sure it's marijuana. But other contributing causal components could be reading the American Psychological Association manual, which is just increasing the neural workload. That could be a contributing factor to stress, right? Good old college, university, yeah. What else? But all right, yeah. So the consequence of cowardice, yeah, yeah. So, uh, coming up, there is a chance to speak out against the corrupt scumbags of the cannabis industry who are pushing this thing called SAM, Smart Approaches to Marijuana. It's a subversion. All the anti-marijuana groups that I've joined are ineffective at stopping it deliberately. They're probably owned by the marijuana industry. Like they created their own resistance so it would fail. That's oh no, the important thing isn't to oppose it. It's just kindness and compassion for the victims of it. Wouldn't you prevent them being victimized by stopping it before it happened? No, that means we'd have to be mean. It's like this limp wristed, pussified, pacifist, milk toast Jesus approach, right? No, we don't want to be mean to the bad guys. That's not loving your enemies. Which explains why Christianity failed so thoroughly to prevent America, for example, from becoming so morally corrupt and declined. That's why they failed to prevent gay marriage, trans kids, marijuana, porn access on the internet by children, etc., etc., etc. Pacifist like Jesus. Fucking brilliant. But then Yeah, and so that could be stressing me out. But another factor is it reminded me of New Mexico. I had a gun. It was a shotgun, just like I want to get here. Oh, what stops me from getting that here is that they want a state ID, and I don't have any community care support. People are just shitty scumbags, and I forget where I'm at or how I even got here a lot of the time. So apparently, I don't have the perspective memory to get on top of that. Plus, I have this fear that every time I go into Goldsboro, the nearest town, which I have to do to get, the DMV or whatever, it's always stinking like marijuana. There's always involuntary exposure to secondhand marijuana, with one time that it didn't happen out of 50 now or more. And that means avoiding slipping into a schizophrenic episode because people are such shitty fucking scumbags. Anyway, but this reminded me when I was back in New Mexico and the politicians and the Episcopalians, etc., were being corrupt. There was no political solution, but I had a shotgun. And I had that shotgun. I owned two shotguns actually for over like a year and a half, almost 2 years, with no incidents, no suicide, no homicide, etc. I used it to scare off the crackheads who were always showing up to rob the property that I was staying on. There's a 83-year-old, pastor at a church, so easy prey because pacifists like Jesus. Oh, love your enemies. Give them the cloak off your back. Oh man, I don't know why they stole my stuff. Anyway, so I had this moment where this family at the Episcopalian church was smoking marijuana in the parking lot. And just like morality not defined by group labels, the same thing happens in all Christianity. Like every church that I've attended to get away from weed has weed at the church. There was a guy selling weed in that pastor's church during service. Oh, we're Anglicans. We're not like the Episcopalians. Yeah, literally the same thing almost. You're all junkies. Catholic, Christian, Protestant, Jew, Muslim, whatever. So I had this moment where it seemed like the only thing that would stop the involuntary exposure to secondhand marijuana was to use that shotgun and shoot the people smoking marijuana within, upwind range of me, because they were not going to choose on their own. Oh, this weed smoke is setting off your schizophrenia. So technically, if you were to kill me in a schizophrenic episode, it's I caused it with the marijuana smoke. Now, I'm not a foolish man. I know the law wouldn't be honest. The judge would not say, oh, well, he's right. There's a whole bunch of science behind it. We're liberals. We're the party of science. The CDC even says this. There's all kinds of science proving secondhand marijuana shows up in the bloodstream of people who don't smoke it firsthand directly, right? And THC metabolites, etc., cannabinoids in the bloodstream of people who don't smoke it directly. No, the judge would not say that. I'd end up fucked by the very corrupt state that's pushing the marijuana. But that seems to be the only thing that will stop the cannabis industry from destroying so many innocent lives. They do not care. They don't even bat an eyelash of the suicides, the homicides, the vehicular fatalities, and so much more cannabis induced psychosis adverse events. They only care about money. The only way to save your kids is stuff like this. And you could say this is hate speech and incitement to violence, but the only thing, just one example, the only thing that's kept corrupt politicians honest throughout history is the public execution of corrupt politicians. It's why the guillotine was invented. And so that's probably a huge stressor to me, is just that. And so I ended up buying more shit on Amazon, hanging succulents, pearl drops or something, and the stud finder so I can lag them into the beams and things like that. Hanging plant pots, Miracle Grow for succulents, just useless shit. Because somehow that's like I guess psychologically comforting, emotionally comforting. Yeah, very strange. So this is escapism. Now, I like to construct a fantasy scenario where I get what I want, right? What would I like to happen? And this is what I sought in Judaism because it's what I could not find in white secular Seattle. Every Christian church that I've attended from the West Coast to the East Coast, and so many states in between. Conservative party, liberal party, seculars, you name it. And that is a community care and support network that actually effectively, legitimately provides care and support. Hence, I would have an ID. I would either have a shotgun to stop that dog from fucking and the neighbors from being pieces of shit, or the police would actually do something, or the community would actually do something, right? Things like that. I would get moved to a place where there's no marijuana, no secondhand marijuana, right? Maybe like Russia or something where it's still illegal and they have laws against marijuana propaganda specifically. Yeah. No, nobody's going to help me with that. I hope converting to Judaism would get me into a group that had strong in-group cohesion, right? A care and support network. Apparently, I think the Jews might dislike me or just, look down on me for not being ethnically Jewish, maybe? I have no idea. They're not communicating, so I just have to make my own inferences. But whatever the motivation, yeah, I don't think that's ever gonna happen. I've been wanting to do it for years, but even now, even just this last 3 months since October 7th at the massacres, as I was dumping money into Israel and Jewish organizations and causes, and defending online Hasbara. There's rabbi siding with Hamas and the Palestinians, inciting the rape and murder of Jews, and they're calling themselves True Torah. And then there's a rabbi at the Study Judaism thing or ConvertToJudaism.net who claims to be Orthodox but officiated a same-sex marriage. Hey, it's very strange. Like my frontal lobes are keep clicking on these signs that these people are not what they portray themselves to be. So all this stuff just makes me look forward to death. But I don't want to think that way. I'd rather live, so then escape into abstraction, which used to be books, but now that I'm reading this boring American Psychological Association manual, formatting manual, apparently this escape into abstraction is consumerism. And so my drug is purchasing products on Amazon and Walmart online. Very strange.